This will be the last time I write you. This story will sound like it's fake, but I assure you it is 100% real. Last I left off, I was in a bar and had just run into my ex. I ran outside to catch a breath of fresh air when I was approached by a man, the same man that I found in my apartment only a few weeks earlier. I didn't know how he found me, nor did I know what he wanted. I kept trying to figure out where he came from and who he was over the next few weeks, to the point where it was driving me crazy. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. In fact, the only thing I got accomplished was going to class and drinking every night. I was at the campus library one night after the incident at the bar had happened. Being an engineering major, I'll admit, writing wasn't one of my strongest subjects. So when it came to this paper I had to write for English class that was only 2 pages long, it was taking me hours to get it done. I looked at the clock on the computer. It was past midnight. I knew I had to go back home. I packed up my things, and when I left, there was only one other person in the library besides myself. I strolled outside and began walking towards my car. That's when I felt my phone vibrate. I looked down and saw that Noah had sent me a message. I didn't open it. Instead, I just hit the delete button. But no sooner had I done that, my phone vibrated again. And this time, it was a message from my ex-girlfriend, the same one I had seen at the bar with the other man. I opened it to see what it said. It was just one line. "Hey, can we talk?" After it, several hearts and smiley faces followed. My heart jumped up into my throat. I couldn't figure out what she would want after all these weeks, especially if she was just with someone else. I struggled for a moment, looking at my phone, trying to figure out how I should respond. I hadn't spoken to her in months, so why was she messaging me? I placed my phone back into my pocket. I didn't know what I should do, and I just stood there in the middle of the sidewalk, thinking to myself. I wasn't sure what to do, how to respond, or if I should respond at all. I stood there for a moment, just thinking to myself. However, that's when I heard it again. Footsteps coming from behind me. Now, it was past midnight, so it's not like there were a lot of people out on the street walking around, and it was a Tuesday, so most people were in their dorms or apartments asleep. More footsteps soon followed. I turned around and there he was. It was the man again. I was racking my brain trying to figure out who he was, how he appeared, and where he came from. This time, it was a completely random encounter. What should I do? Where should I go? What do I say? I know it sounds crazy, but this man literally appeared out of nowhere. And he still had the same expression on his face. I decided not to confront him. Instead, I continued down the street towards my car, hoping he'd just disappear. But he didn't. As I moved, so did he. I could hear his footsteps as he followed me down the street. I hastened my steps, trying to get further away from the man. But as soon as I fastened my steps, he followed in suit. His steps quickened just as mine had, and the gap between us had begun closing fast. My steps soon turned to a walk, a brisk walk, and then a light jog. and then finally an all-out run. And I could still hear him behind me. He wasn't yelling anything, he didn't say anything, but his footsteps were loud and clear. For some reason, it dawned on me to not run towards my car. I began taking twists and turns throughout the campus. About a minute or so after running for so long, I began to run out of breath. I was quite out of shape, and it was starting to work against me. Out of fear, I turned around and yelled at the man, "Why are you following me? Go away! Who are you?" I said this to him several times, even though my pace began to slow down. He didn't respond. He just continued following me, and I noticed for a brief second that he didn't seem like he was out of breath like I was. It was dark, but I didn't hear any huffing or puffing or anything like that. However, I was more concerned about just getting away, so I continued with my twists and turns, periodically turning around to see how close this man was to me. Unfortunately, it was because of this that what happened next occurred. See, I wasn't used to running around campus and going in certain areas, as most of my classes were on one side of the campus. So I reached a point in the middle of the campus where a street ran through. And even though it was night, there were still buses that ran and cars that ran as well, as there was a carpool system that the teachers and the students had organized for those who could not get to campus on time or did not have a vehicle. I had inadvertently, as I was turned around yelling at this stranger, run out into the street. The only thing I remember after that is a car and its tires screeching against the concrete. The next thing I know, I'm awake, but I'm in a hospital. I wasn't sure what happened, and I still don't remember, but I was told that I had run out into the street and gotten hit by a car. The driver immediately called 911, and I was rushed to the hospital. Campus police were notified, and they called my parents, who were on their way to the hospital when I woke up. The man had described me as running frantically down the street, but I wasn't looking where I was going, and he couldn't stop in time. So the doctor stopped and questioned me. They asked why I ran out into the middle of the street, and I told them a man had been following me. The driver who hit me said there was no one behind me, and that he didn't see anyone when he got out. But that man was hot on my heels. How could that driver not have seen him? He was right there. I swore up and down to the doctors that that man was there. They notified campus police, and they did an investigation. They looked at some cameras that were around campus, security cameras, but they revealed nothing. There was no one there. From the library all the way to the moment that I had stepped out into the middle of the street, I was alone. I swore up and down to them that I wasn't crazy. I told them about this man, about how he had entered my apartment and then the night at the bar. This inadvertently triggered the doctors to refer me to a psychologist and a psychiatrist, who both diagnosed me with schizophrenia. Apparently, my parents and their relationship when I was a child had triggered a bit of a traumatic event for me. The doctors described it, and they believed that the man was developed as a figment of my imagination to help me cope with stress. The reason I had not seen him over the course of my teenage years was because, well, nothing traumatic happened. My teenage years were fine, high school went great. But he reappeared when my girlfriend broke up with me and my grades were going down. causing the stress. And at first, I didn't believe them. I got diagnosed and they recommended that I see a psychiatrist again, but I wouldn't see them again for another year. After this event, I had moved on from my ex-girlfriend, and I never did respond to that message she sent that night. But about a year later, when school started up, after winter break that is, I saw the man again, and he was wearing the same clothes and had the same expression. I had seen him after I got the news that my aunt had passed away. Not even 20 minutes after I got that message had I seen him. He reappeared and he was on the campus lawn. And this time, it was broad daylight, and there were people around him, yet no one acknowledged his existence. This man did not fit in. He was not young. He did not dress well. His clothes were old, and he looked angry. More importantly, he wasn't moving. He just stared at me, yet no one noticed him. I'm now on medication and I'm getting treatment for my schizophrenia, but I do see this man regularly whenever I'm stressed out at work or in my personal life. I wanted to share this story because mental illness is real, and for anyone who has it, please get help. My disorder nearly killed me, and it didn't occur to me that there may be something wrong. But now that I know, and I'm getting help, my life is going by much better. It's hard to talk about, because my brain, my mind, almost killed me. And I'm sure that had I not gone back to see that psychiatrist a year later, if I hadn't gone back to see them, I genuinely believe I'd be dead, or at least severely hurt. I almost got hit by a car because my mind convinced me that someone that I didn't know was after me. Mental illness is nothing to play around with. And if someone is genuinely concerned about you or something just seems off or weird, go get help, because you never know what it could be.